Let's go.
Good morning, Service Alliance community. We're back.
We're back on this lovely June 24th.
Yes. All right.
Hey, let's talk about legacy today. That's what we're going to have some fun with
So
today.
this week's theme, we're talking about something few of us want to face, but all of us should deal with it eventually.
Yeah. No, legacy. Yeah.
Legacy. Yeah. Like, what happens to your business when you're no longer running?
Yeah. Ooh, so it's not necessarily about after you're gone from death. It's about what if you want to sell? What's the legacy there, right?
Yeah. You want to hand it off to your kids? You want to retire?
Great way to think about it. It's not about death. It's about, I don't even want to say retirement. Yeah.
It's about making sure your business doesn't collapse when you finally make that move to step away from it.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's you still being involved, but you need to step away. So it's about building something that you can step away from.
Yeah. It's good
stuff.
You know,
we all started our businesses. We want freedom. That's why we started it.
Freedom reminds me of
sometimes we create a job for ourselves.
What movie was it that they yelled out freedom? It's probably several movies. Braveheart comes to mind. I don't think it's
Braveheart.
Was it Braveheart?
That's the first thing. Definitely Braveheart.
What do we want? We want freedom. I don't know if that's what they say, but it sounds cool.
How many of you out there actually have freedom in your business? Very, very few.
Yeah.
But this episode's all about building a business that outlives you.
True.
Because the truth is, your legacy isn't automatic. You have to build it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive into it.
I'm going to open us up in prayer, and you got the verse for this morning. So, dear Father God, thank you for our businesses. Thank you for allowing us to have a business so that we can build it to outlive us. Allow us to step away at some point before the business outlives us, and so that we have something to pass on to others, whether it's to sell it or have a legacy for our own family. And I just want to thank you that you have given us this opportunity to do so. And I ask that you help us obtain the knowledge and the stamina that we need moving forward. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I got a verse and a quote for you.
All right.
So the verse, I went with Ecclesiastes 7:8. The end of a matter, the end of a matter is better than its beginning. That's deep thoughts by Jack Handy right there. The end of a matter is better than its beginning. Ecclesiastes. Who wrote Ecclesiastes? I'm trying to think of who that was. How you finish matters. Don't neglect the end of your story. Not necessarily in death, but as we were talking about here. I shared a quote yesterday on our Motivational Monday from William James. The greatest use of a life is to spend it for something that will outlast it. I love that quote. The greatest use of a life is to spend it for something that will outlast it. So legacy isn't something that happens by accident. It's built with purpose. Every system you create, every relationship you nurture, every step you take with intention, it all adds up. So this week, lead with the long game in mind. Build something that lasts. Great quote.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of you out there don't really think about this very often, or at all. But do you have an exit plan? What is that exit plan?
Yeah, there's a door right here in case of fires. Not the right exit plan. Got it.
Okay. Not the right exit plan. Fact is, 70% of all business owners don't have a written succession plan or a sale strategy.
That's a big number, Mike.
70%. That's a lot.
plus percent.
Yeah. So the default plan is usually I'll go figure it out later.
Yeah.
And then later never comes.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people procrastinate, don't think about this. But let's face it, at some point you will leave your business.
Yeah.
You will either shut it down entirely or you're going to leave it and someone else is going to run it.
Yeah. Hopefully
are you preparing for that?
Yeah. So many times when we pass away, people pass away, they leave an incredible amount of debt or just headaches, whatever, to their kids. I don't want to do that to my kids. Like, I don't want to have a huge amount of debt. I want them to be able to just take what I have and be like, okay, Austin wants this, Isaiah wants that. Man, that's a whole different way to think about it. This kind of a little bit of a morbid show today, but it definitely gets you thinking a little bit, right?
It doesn't have to be morbid because it doesn't have to involve passing on.
Yeah.
It has to do with passing on a legacy.
Succession, yes.
Succession. And that can happen while you're very well alive, and
I mean, you will leave your business.
Yeah, that's the point. So
the only question is whether you do it intentionally or not.
Yeah, it's how you leave it. Yeah. Are you leaving it in a good place for others?
Yeah.
Or are you leaving it and just shutting it down?
Yeah.
I mean, we all work really, really hard. Our businesses are our baby in a lot of cases, right? It's our living. It's our employees living. Do you want to shut it down and then just put people out of work? Do you want to shut it down and not have an opportunity to serve the customers that you've been serving all these years and decades?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really sad when people that have been around for 30, 40, 50 years, and then all of a sudden the business is just gone.
Yeah.
Just because the owner is no longer there, because they retired or, they did pass
have somebody to take on the business.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much what happened with us with the electrical business. We had heating and air and electrical. I was able to sell off the heating and air side of it. But the electrical side, neither one of my boys wanted to take that part over. And so we ended up selling off a huge portion of it and closing down the rest. And here, fast forward to now, we're actually contemplating starting Service Detectives back up as a appliance repair company because my youngest son is debating, I think I want to get back into the trades. He's like, I kind of wish I would have listened to you sooner and started running more calls with you on the electrical side because I think I would have liked that. Well, I can't.
Well, and you guys didn't start that business out of thin air.
No, it was third generation. Yeah, it was my wife's grandpa and grandma that started back in 1968. So been around a long time.
Right. So that was a legacy generational business. So, and now you're thinking about starting it up again.
Yeah.
I assume under the same name and just a different focus, but that's a legacy.
We've kept all the trademarks up. I still own all the domain names, all that stuff. And so it's just one of those things. Really, it's a matter of actually starting it back up would be easier than, anything today. It's just a matter of doing it. He's still trying to figure out what he wants to do. So that legacy is he's in the military and he's getting deployed. He's got orders probably January, February of 26 to be deployed. Hopefully not sooner with the conflict going on, but doesn't look like it's going to happen for him. But my nephew is overseas in the middle of all this mess. So say a prayer for him. His name's Hayden. Yeah, it's
for sure
interesting time right now. That's for sure. So yeah, why waiting so long will cost you everything. That's our next talking point.
Yeah,
selling when you're burned out kills valuation. Let's talk about that one a little bit.
I
Yeah.
think when you're burned out, the best time to sell your business is when you're on the high.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. But if you don't have something that can be transferred over, I've said this a million times. If you don't have processes, if you don't have people that can run it and processes that can run the business,
Yeah.
it is not going to be attractive for any
Yep.
buyer. Period. If they have to come in and make a mountain of a mess and correct a bunch of things, why would that be attractive? It doesn't mean anything. You can show them numbers all day long and how
Yeah.
profitable, but if you are the business and they're not buying you, there's nothing to buy.
Yeah. Speaking from experience, in 23, when I tore my L5 disc, I only had one other guy working for me, and he ended up taking a counter job at one of our local wholesalers in the heating and air world. I was able to sell off the heating and air side of the portion, and the thing that brought value to that was all the maintenance agreements that we had. So they saw value in the 200 and something maintenance agreements. I still think we got a fraction of what we should have for the heating and air side. And when it come to selling off the electrical side, I wasn't really able to sell off the business per se. It was more all of the tools, the equipment, the vehicles, things like that. Most of the electricians in our area, they don't really care about maintenance agreements. They don't care about, and that was tough, right? That was hard for me to accept. And even looking nationally, I talked with a couple, three different companies, but they didn't want to come into this area because it wasn't a big enough metropolitan area for them. So that was tough, right? To hear and to really, what I think is, we got a fraction of what I think we should have gotten for this business, especially compared to what we agreed to pay our parents for the business when we bought it out from them in 09. So speaking from experience, yeah, don't sell in the lull time. If you're thinking about in the future, make sure you're high on the mountain. Things are going really well. You have maintenance agreements out the wall. Those bring a lot of value in the appliance repair world, in the plumbing world, heating and air world. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Family transitions without preparation, that can lead to a lot of drama, or like us, business failure. Our kids didn't want to take it over yet. Wrong time. Yeah.
I mean, even my own business, my children don't want to be involved in the business. My wife does not want to be involved in the business.
Yeah.
But I am building a business that can be sold. If I were to die, quit, or get fired tomorrow from my own business, what would happen to it? It's one of those things. Someone has to be able to step in and pick up where I left off.
Yep.
And if I haven't laid that foundation, then it's going to collapse. And that's a hard reality to face, and I've been in business for 20 and a half years. And it's mind blowing that it took me this long to really figure it out, and I think it'd be nice if, my son's in IT. I would love for him to come in, learn the business, take it over.
Yeah.
I think he would do amazing at it. But I'm trying to build a business where my family could have something to fall back on, if they needed it, or if they wanted it. But if they don't, someone else will, if it's set up properly. So I block out time to work on my business, not just the day-to-day stuff, but to plan for that succession, to plan for building everything out. It's all, for me, it's all about keeping the end in mind.
Yeah.
And whatever that end goal is, whether it's to sell it or transition it to, one of my children, that's my goal.
Yeah.
And if it never happens, it never happens. But I'm going to plan for it anyway, because
So
if I were to leave, my family could then find a buyer or find someone to step in.
yeah. So blocking out that 1 hour a week, what does that look like? Like, what are some things that you'd be focusing on during that 1 hour?
Definitely processes. Processes are key.
Yeah.
Building my team out, training them, having everything that's up here down on paper, or digitally, as much as I possibly can. And that's the hard part for me. I'm having a hard time with it, honestly. Because it's, how do you take 20 years of experience in doing things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm hiring people. I just, in the past few weeks, I've hired 2 new people, and I'm hiring these people to replace pieces of myself.
Yeah.
Okay. So, for example, for me, I've got a web developer, I've got a content writer, I've got a PPC specialist and an SEO specialist. So we're a team of 5 right now, but they're just pieces of me that I've replaced. And I still have a lot more pieces that I have to replace. I've got to find a customer success manager. I've got to find an actual project manager.
Yeah.
Those are my next 2 hires, and then grow it from there.
Yeah.
But these are all things that help the business grow and keep customers happy. If you're a tech and a one-man show, you need to replace yourself as the tech. You need to run your business. And it doesn't mean that you can't go out and do tech stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't go out and run service calls.
True.
But it frees you up to focus on other things. It frees you up to focus on the business and the growth and what you want it to be.
A good question to ask, I think, is what happens if I was what happens if I was, it's easy question to ask. I'm just stuttering, having a hard time getting it out. What happens to my business if I disappear for 30 days? Like, we've had this conversation with a couple of people this week about just taking a vacation for 2 weeks. Some friends of mine, their daughter got married. She lives out in Montana, and they took 2 weeks off and drove out to Montana. And he goes, man, it was so great. Like, I left work on Friday, and I thought, man, I don't have to worry about anything for 2 weeks because everything is in place. Systems are in place. Processes are in place. People are in place to run the business. He goes, I did. And we just went to their house, just sat on the porch for a while and just talked about this. And he goes, it was great. Like, I didn't have to worry about a thing. Like, everything was running great. That's the kind of business that you want to have, that I can disappear for at least a couple of weeks. But imagine if you took a whole month.
That's true freedom.
What if you landed in the hospital, right? And it was 30 days. What's going to happen to your business? Is your business rely on you that much? Something you might want to think about.
Put it this way. Maybe it's not you that the business is relying on. Maybe it's one of your employees. Maybe it's your CSR. Maybe it's your best tech. And, I was talking to TK about this just recently. A couple of weeks ago, his CSR took a vacation. Rightfully so. She needed a vacation, right? Well, he told me that everything started breaking down, a little bit in relation to what she's doing, and the cross training wasn't there, and there was a bunch of holes, and they were scrambling, and everybody's trying to just fill the void of one person. His entire team was trying to fill the void of one person, and he was on the phone complaining to me, about all the struggles he's having with it. And I said, you need to look at this as an opportunity. And he says, well, there's plenty of opportunity. I'm like, each one of these problems is absolutely an opportunity for you to reevaluate your processes and fill those holes.
Yeah.
Get that shored up so that the next time this will not happen.
It's amazing
And
you
he's
change the
like, well,
word.
it did happen before.
Yeah.
You know, his CSR's husband had died, and she was out for many weeks.
Yeah.
And he experienced this then, but he didn't shore everything up to fill those opportunities, gaps and holes at that time. And now she just took a week off and they're right back into that same place.
Yeah.
And it's a hard lesson to learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he admitted that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you need to focus on this and so that it never happens again, or it softens the blow.
Yeah. Man, this is a good topic. Family succession isn't a guarantee. Like my kids with the electrical business, this business with my office help, yeah, it's, we're setting things up for Austin to take over this business. Isaiah is actually coming into the business, and he's working on the my office help side of things for a couple days a week, and then working on my office manager 3 days a week. So they're seeing this business as a whole different. The younger generation, man, they're techie. They don't want to do manual labor, which sucks because, where does that do for the trades? There's few and far between. It's like pulling teeth to try to get some of the younger generation to get into the trades. But how important is it for them to get in the trades? I mean, one of these days we're going to have an even harder time getting these kids into the trades. So if you get an opportunity, you get somebody that says, man, I think I would love to be an appliance repair guy. Man, I think I'd love to be a plumber. You better get them in the truck with you. Come ride with me for a day, 2, 3 days. See what it's like. See how much fun I get to have. Make it an enjoyable experience teaching these kids about the trades. It's important that we have them in there for the future.
EJ does a good job of that with his kids.
I had so many. I was involved with scouting for 12 years. Yeah, 12 years. This is my first year, actually, this year, not being a scout leader. It's weird, but and I had so many that wanted to really understand what I did better as an electrician. And so I would put them in a uniform shirt, and they'd come right along with me for a day. And it was pretty cool to see. So, and the fact that Isaiah wants to get back into the trades is really cool for me to hear. And like I said, for him to say, man, I wish I would have went ahead and did more with you on the electrical side of things. It feels good now, but it's like, okay, what did I do wrong back then that he didn't want to get into the trades then? So be sure to make it a fun experience when they're riding along with you. Helping your kids is going to take over isn't the same as preparing them to take over. So like with my office help, we are preparing them, right? Austin, you're in charge of this leadership meeting. Isaiah, this is what you're doing as far as running or, taking these calls. Here's what it's like to be in sales. We're teaching him how to do sales calls and demos, and he's joining a BNI chapter, so we're preparing him for those next steps. Austin's at a whole different level. Like he'll be ready to run this business probably within the next year. And that gives Shane and I an opportunity to take a little bit of a step back to be able to maybe enjoy life a little bit, or to focus on another part of the business and get that part of, running even better. Right. So,
and this is definitely something that's not going to happen overnight.
No, gosh,
it takes years
Yeah.
to fully groom a person to take over the business.
Yeah.
Whether it's your child or someone trusted that you have on
little
staff.
little pieces, right? Delegation as a leader is so important. I'm not EJ's lead. You don't want me answering EJ's phones. Yeah, if you want me doing EJ's marketing, I'll be glad to do that part of it. But we delegate to somebody. You are EJ's lead. The confidence that we instill in them to be EJ's lead or whoever's lead. I'm just throwing EJ out there. But there's a delegation that goes along. But we don't just throw them into it. It's teaching them. It's sitting them beside them. Hey, this is how you do this. Hey, this is what EJ wants. Hey, this is what this customer wants, right? So there's preparing them to take over. Not just your kids, anybody in your business. Prepare them. Preparation is so important. You got to train those next leaders before you need them, right? So
Absolutely.
here's the thing I need you to do. Here's how I'm preparing you for that. And eventually, hey, take this day. You're in charge of this piece of the puzzle. It
Well,
can be very scary.
and let's take your example. Um, for example, Austin. If Austin's going to take over the business at some point and take control of it and lead the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's being groomed and trained and molded right now to be able to do that. Who is he molding to take his place?
Yeah.
Right. So it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
So it's not just training him to replace you and Shayna. He needs to train someone to replace him. Right.
Yeah.
And so on.
It's that legacy aspect we keep bringing up. Yeah. That's a good one.
I mean, that's why it's succession planning. And it doesn't mean succession planning just for you as the business owner. It's every piece on down the line.
Well, this is getting away from us, so let's we'll dive into the next one. This is good. We can almost break this one up into a couple different episodes too. But selling your business is possible, but not if you wait too long. Only 30% of small businesses that list actually sell. That's crazy to think. Only 30% of small, and I get it. I've been there. We talked to a couple of different national agencies to try to look at selling our business, and there just wasn't enough of demand. Again, it was the location for us that kind of killed us. And then in talking with other electrical companies locally, it's just like, a bunch of them don't do service. Like if I was in new construction or I did more commercial stuff, it would have been a different story. So it's a niche thing. You're right. Niche, whatever. Niche. Yeah. It's like quiche. It's a niche thing. And so you got to make sure you have the right crowd to talk to if you're going to sell your business. It's not impossible. Like I said, we sold off a good portion of both of them. So a huge portion of this is making sure your SOPs, your financials, all that stuff is in line. When you go to present that to whoever you're wanting to sell to, that's the first thing, especially if it's a big amount and they got to get a loan, what are they going to need? They need everything handed to them. Hey, let me take this to the bank. This is where they've been. This is where we want to go with it. Right.
Yeah. So they're not going to buy your technician skills.
Yeah. No,
because you're no longer going to be there. So your skills are meaningless to them.
Yeah. If they're not buying you to come into the business. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Those owner
and if that's the case,
are really
why
hard to sell? Yeah. If you're not the product, it's hard to sell. Exactly. The value comes from your team, your processes, like I said, the customer database, those maintenance agreements, cash flow, not your technician skills. Very rarely, you got these big conglomerates coming through and buying up a lot of these heating and air companies and plumbing companies and stuff. And they may want you to stay on as a technician, but they can hire and fire like crazy, when it comes to that kind of stuff. So big thing is just get your SOPs, your playbooks, your financials in line, get your books clean, reduce those personal expenses that you run through the business. And I'm talking about that one from
how do you build a transferable business?
Yeah. Well, that's a transferable business is one that works without you. So they want that confidence, buyers or your, kids or whoever it's taking over the business. They want that confidence that the business is going to survive even if you're not there. So what makes your company valuable?
Revenue, but recurring revenue. Recurring revenue is where it's at because it's predictable.
Maintenance agreements. I'm telling you,
maintenance agreements are where it's at, guys. Your brand. Buyers buy brands.
Strong brands.
They don't buy a team. They don't buy a business. They buy a brand.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have a strong brand that contains a trained team, and operational consistency with your processes, then it is not valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to say, you need to have predictable income a strong brand, a good trained team with SOPs in place. That's what they are wanting to buy.
Yeah.
A buyer doesn't want to buy a business and then step in and run it. Okay. Yeah. A lot of these people that are going to be looking at your business to buy, they may be investment companies. They may be like these conglomerates that buy up a bunch of them. Mm-hmm. They don't sit at the helm and say, I'm going to buy this business and then I'm going to go in there and run the day-to-day operations. That's not what they're interested in. Despite what you think and how good your business is, when you're on the inside of the box, you're looking at the four walls of that box, right? A buyer's on the outside of the box. He wants to look at the label on that box. He wants to look at the branding on that box. He wants to size up that box to see if that box fits inside his existing box.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to look at you to see if you fit in his box. He wants to look at your whole box, which is your business, right? So how do we do this? Create a 30-day and a 90-day owner away scenario. Mm-hmm. We talked about this last week. If you're gone, what are you going to do? How is the business going to run? How can you confidently step away and not worry about it? What falls apart? Get it fixed. Like we talked with TK about this. Make sure that you fix those holes when people are away. Document. It's document the 10 most common processes in your business this quarter. Invest in your leadership team now, not later. Just like we were talking about with Austin. He's going to be your leadership team. You have to invest in him now.
Yep. 100%.
So, I know you got a hard stop today. So we can wrap it up with some takeaways.
Your legacy won't build itself, Mike. It requires intention, planning, and humility. Humility, yes.
Humility?
Humility.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's a tough one to swallow.
Yeah. I am not the most humble person at times.
Whether you're passing the business to your children or preparing to sell it, the best time to start preparing was 5 years ago. Don't wait till today to start preparing for the future, right?
Yeah, but the second best time is today.
Yeah. Well, it's been a good show. Lots of good stuff on here. Just had a mastermind this past Saturday. Got another Zoom starting.
Yeah.
This past Saturday.
TK did a great job teaching on pricing your service.
Do you have the next one coming up?
The next one, I don't have it in front of me.
All right. Well, hey,
sorry.
Pay the fee. It's free. All you got to do to pay the fee is if you like something, simply like, subscribe, share Appliance Marketing Pros, My Office Help, or Service Alliance Group on all our socials. We really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed something today, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to the Morning Grind podcast by Service Alliance Group. Subscribe to our channel and make sure you visit our website at servicealliancegroup.com for appliance repair business resources.